What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's feeling good today. Hope everybody's doing good today. Right now, I'm sitting in some traffic. I'm on the way to go get some gas. There's a bunch of traffic out here right now. Yeah, if you didn't already, hit that like, share, subscribe button for me. Maserati, Lamborghini, and Ferrari. Okay, we're going to talk about perception of Lamborghini, Ferrari, and Maserati. Why they are not considered different, but why they are different, why they are not the same. That is really it. I'm like to the window on so you guys can see what's going on. Okay, guys, let's get it out of here. I'm not really gonna do too much talking. I'm really just gonna let y'all get a car. What happened? Segment like last video where we talk. So, if you're new to the channel, hit that like, share, subscribe button. might gotta be next. I don't know, man. Guys, don't I don't know, dude. Man, that Skyline, seeing one of them Skylines. Ugh. it's funny to me how Maserati, Lamborghini, and Ferrari, like at one time they were looked at as really being all on the same level. Now, if you don't know and you're new to Italian cars or new to even learning about Italian cars, heritage cars, that Maserati was actually existed first. Okay, so for everybody saying that Ferrari, Maserati is, the lower end, a poor man's Ferrari, and I don't understand how it's a poor man's Ferrari if Maserati existed first. You guys missed me with that one. It existed before Lamborghini as well. I mean, I think the only people that existed before Maserati was Alfa Romeo, and I don't even think Lancia did. I'm not sure. I think they might have. Actually, they did. Pretty sure they did. But in terms of the big three, Maserati, Lamborghini, and Ferrari, it was definitely Maserati first. Maserati had the racing, the racing heritage. They had they were first in terms of existence. Now, in terms of road cars, I think Ferrari was first to road cars. But in terms of, like the fastest cars, and Maserati was first to that. The best luxury sports car combined, Maserati was first to that. If you look at, most Maseratis, even just from the 80s, before before those the horrible 90s models, before those in those 80s models, you'll see a lot of, high-end finishing, a lot of wood, a lot of leather, and if you look at the Ferraris from that period, they don't look anything like that on the inside. They don't have anything of that quality. Ferrari interiors and Lamborghini interiors in the 80s and early 90s, they were horrible. They were horrible. I'm sorry, but they just look horrible. So, I mean, I think after the 90s and, when Maserati pulled out of selling cars in America, it kind of hurt their reputation. And that's why I think a lot of people think that, Maserati might be a poor man's Ferrari, way underneath Lamborghini, in which, if you want to take it back some years, it wasn't like that. They were all on the same level. Pretty much. Maseratis, they all really cost the same amount of money, Lamborghinis weren't, in the 80s, they weren't so much more expensive than Ferraris and Maseratis. You got to understand that really just came about during this time, and I also believe that's because Maserati isn't really making supercars like that. They're only making, they made the MC20, the Gran Turismo to me was the supercar they had before the MC20. There was no other supercar. So, they haven't really been focused on that ever since probably the 80s, on making wedge-shaped supercars or, anything of, the traditional supercar shape. So, I think that's why Maserati a lot fell out of favor with being on the level of Ferrari and Lamborghini, because they stopped making wedge-shaped cars. Okay. I think that hurt them a lot. I think going away from the original, Maserati being a sports car brand, going away from that hurt them, because that's what everybody knew a Maserati for, and even now I think like how Mercedes is doing, they're watering down their product line, it's just like how back in the 90s, like, when I was growing up, if you had a Benz or you had a Mercedes, like you really had to be making a lot of money. Like you really had, there was no leasing these cars. You know what I mean? So everybody leasing, like there were no leasing these cars. So every time you saw somebody with a Mercedes, like you really knew, oh, they're really doing something. You know what I mean? They really, they have a good job, they got a good business or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Career, whatever it is, they were really doing something. And I don't want, that's the way Maserati seems. Maserati used to be like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like Maserati, I don't know what that lady was screaming about, but I think Maserati is trying to, appeal to more customers, like with the Grecali and the Levant, the Ghibli being a 4-door instead of a 2-door. You know, the Ghibli to me always should have been a 2-door. Should have never been a 4-door. And I'm sorry to all Ghibli owners, don't kill me, but the Ghibli used to be a 2-door. It did not used to be a 4-door. So the Ghibli should have stayed a 2-door convertible. Like I said, they should have made the Gran Turismo. It just should have been at a different price point. I think they should have been at 2 different price points. But I think the Ghibli definitely should have stayed a 2-door. You know, a 2-door ragtop convertible. That's what I think. You know, the Gran Turismo to me, it could have been a convertible. I really think the hardtop Gran Turismo just looks better. You know, I understand why people get convertibles, but I just think the hardtop looks better. It could have did without it, you know. I mean, they could still bring a convertible. It still could have been a convertible, but, you know, I think the Ghibli should have been a 2-door hardtop and a convertible. Sort of like how the Gallardo is to the Aventador. That's what the Ghibli should have been to the Gran Turismo. You know, how it always used to be, you know. I think that, again, the Grecale shouldn't exist. You know, just like, you know, and if it does exist, it should only exist in the Trofeo version. Just like the Levant should only exist in the Trofeo version. You know, all of these cars that are not supercars, they should only exist in Trofeo versions and V8 Trofeo versions. They should not exist in regular versions. You know, Maserati does not need to. I would really rather them not water down their product line like Mercedes has. Because if you guys look at what Mercedes has done, they've tried to make a Mercedes for everybody. And that's what it seems like Maserati's doing. Like they're trying to make a Maserati for everybody. And Maserati has never been for everybody. Just like a Ferrari, just like a Lamborghini. Doesn't matter if you have the money. Those cars are not for everybody, right? That's why they make Bentleys and Rolls Royces, because everybody doesn't want to ride all tight and with a loud sound and, you know what I mean, etc. You know what I mean? But that's the one thing I could say that I don't like that Maserati's doing. I think they should take more of the, you know, Ferrari approach where they could just make really supercars and super trucks, you know, so to speak. Like the Levant is weird because even in the new Parasanga, the new Ferrari truck, I see so much of the Levant in that truck from the hips on it. You know what I mean? The way the window curves in the back, it curves like a Urus. It's like they put all of the Italian trucks into that one truck. You know what I mean? You know, but again, it's not coming in a sport version with a detuned V6. Like it shouldn't, you know, Maserati should have never put out a V6. Like even the MC20, right? The MC20, and you guys heard me say it in a few videos back if you've been watching, when they started pumping all this stuff first with the Cielo, you know, I first was saying that the MC should have been a V8. It should have never been a 6-cylinder. You know what I mean? There should be no reason why a car shaped like a 458, okay, or a 488 has a V6 in it. Why would you buy the 458 over the Maserati? And the Maserati got a 6-cylinder. You know what I mean? And it has the same shape. I'm pretty sure it has the same mirrors on it. You know what I mean? I think the Maserati looks better. Let me say that. I think the Maserati looks better than the 458. You know what I mean? Especially where the doors come up, I definitely think it looks better. But I don't understand how you could, if you put them side by side, sound-wise, you're gonna pick a Ferrari. I'm sorry. And before, like, say, what I think they should have did with the MC20 is they should have put a Gran Turismo-like sound in the MC20. That's what it should have been. Like, you should not be able to pull up in a Gran Turismo, okay, and sound better than an MC20. That should not be that way. You know what I mean? Even if they put like more of a F1 style exhaust on the MC20 and charged like $20,000 more for it. You know what I mean? It should have sounded like an F1 car. It shouldn't have sounded like, you know what I mean, a 6-cylinder. It really, if you really guys want me to really be honest with you, it sounds like an STI or, you know, old STI or old, you know, Evo. Like it doesn't sound like a supercar to me. It looks supercar, you know what I mean? And the turbos, they sound crazy and all of that, but you know, this car should have been a V8, or it should have had a straight F1 style sounding exhaust on it where we can't tell it's a V6. You know what I mean? Because as soon as you say 6-cylinder in a car that's shaped like that, people are going to get turned off from it. You're really going to have to be a gearhead car guy to really be interested in that car, aside from it being limited. That's why a lot of people bought it, because it's limited. They think the price is going to go up. So it's sitting in collections and warehouses. And I know like some people have said that the car is good and all of that, and they daily drove it for a little bit, but I still think, and I know they think, you know what I mean, that after you hear Gran Turismo, that the MC should have had an 8-cylinder in it, or a 10-cylinder would have been beautiful in that car. You know what I mean? Like the first Maserati 10-cylinder, and only make it for that car. You know what I mean? She's doing limited numbers anyway, you know, and then make detuned versions of that for the, you know, new Gran Turismo, you know, but of course, they're not going to do it that way, you know. But I just went off on a tangent. But you guys can even see with the MC20, like how they're bringing back. You know, they want to be included in the supercar club again. They want to be, you know, after the Gran Turismo, they want to be, because even with the Gran Turismo, some people, like I've heard some people say that it's not a real supercar because it's so heavy, and I'm sitting there like, this car is the same, I think pretty much the same, roughly the same horsepower as the Vantage, right? The V8 Vantage. So I don't understand how you could consider the Vantage a supercar, but not consider this a full-fledged supercar, even though it's the weight, which I understand, but there was a point to the weight, which it was Gran Touring, a Gran Turismo. For everybody who missed what it was called, you know, but that's why I like driving this car. It's heavy, you know what I mean? So if you're cutting through the wind, you know what I mean? And in some cars, you can feel it shake, especially on the highway. This car, you're not going to feel that. You know what I mean? This car is, you're cutting right through the wind. No issues. Even today, it's windy. There's no issues. You're not going to get stability issues and, you know, feel the car shaking. I don't like driving and feeling that. You know, it's very uncomfortable for me. But this car is, you know, I really do like driving this car. You know, in terms of, you know, being next to a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, and all of that, it definitely holds its own. You know, it definitely, you know, you can see it holds its own, man. I gotta say, one thing about the Maserati Gran Turismo is that this car is like, I think it came out in 05, 06, 07, its design. And you gotta understand that this car has gone through, I think, only a bumper change and a headlight. You know, they updated the headlights a little bit, just changing them from chrome to black. They didn't change the shape or anything like that. And this car really still catches attention. Okay, you turn a lot of heads with this car. You get a lot of attention with this car. You know. So what I say on the level of looks, is it up there with Lamborghini and Ferrari? I would have to say, in terms of attracting people's attention, yeah, I would have to say that. The Lamborghini, I think, gets so much more of attention. One, they come in loud colors mostly, and it's a wedge shape. You know, the shape of it is what gets a lot of attention. You know, the same with a Ferrari. But if you look at this car in person, again, the videos and pictures don't do this car justice. And I don't know why, you know, but when you look at this car in person, it's extremely wide. You know what I mean? It's a very different shape for an Italian car. Like, you can see where all the other cars came after the 812 Superfast, you know, all of them, the GT shaped Ferraris. You know, you can see where a lot of them came after this car. But when you see this car in person, it gives you that feeling like when you see, you know, a Ferrari. It gives you that feeling when you see a Lamborghini. You know, I can only imagine if I painted it in a bright color, you know, how it would look, but I would say that. Now, exhaust-wise, here's where I think Maserati owns Lamborghini and Ferrari. Maserati sound better stock, okay? Out the box, stock, from the factory, than a Lamborghini and a Ferrari. I'm sorry. Now, maybe with the new Aventador, you know what I mean? You guys might have something, you know what I mean? But I'm sorry, guys. I gotta say, the Huracan, I've heard Huracans out here. You've seen Huracans on the vlog. I'm sorry, but I think out the box, the Gran Turismo, there isn't really too many cars out the box that sound better than the Gran Turismo. You know what I mean? And it's not changing anything. You know, I'll give the Aventador. You know what I mean? I'll give it, and that's close. It really depends on the tones that you like. You know what I mean? It really depends on, you know, which sounds you just like better. You know, because let me tell you something. The Gran Turismo is an 8-cylinder, but it's not an 8-cylinder that it doesn't sound like a Charger. Okay, it doesn't sound like a Hellcat. It doesn't sound like a 458. It doesn't sound like, you know, it has its own sound. You know what I mean? So, like I'm saying, if you never heard of Gran Turismo, or you never heard even a Quattroporte, you know, not the new ones, but the ones from, you know, like this time period. Oh no, that would be the new shape, I think. But like the 09s, 10s, 11s, 12s, like if you haven't heard those, like you gotta hear those. You know what I mean? But I would say out the box, Maserati owns Ferrari and Lamborghini in terms of, you know, sound. You know, until you get to the Aventador, and even the Aventador, like I've heard, it sounds good. It doesn't sound as good as a Murcielago LP640. Everybody knows that. You know, the LP640 I think is the best sounding Italian car, period. You know what I mean? Really, out the box. Well, not even out the box. You got to straight pipe it, or you got to put an exhaust on it. That's the other thing. See, that's the thing with Maserati. You don't have to do anything with a Gran Turismo, okay? In terms of exhaust, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is turn the key, start the car, put it in sport mode, and that's it. You know what I mean? It's you don't have to straight pipe it. You don't have to go get an exhaust. You don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing I will say. Like, I've heard Ferraris pass by. I've heard Ferraris. They sound good, you know what I mean, once they start getting into the high rev range. You know what I mean? And really, that's, you know, and with a stock exhaust, I mean, they sound good. You know what I mean? But they don't give you the effect, you know what I mean, that this car does, I don't think. You know, the Huracan, it sounds good, but I don't think the Huracan sounds as good as the Gran Turismo. The 4.7 Gran Turismo, I'm sorry, I don't believe it sounds as good as that. You know, even the 4.2s, I think, you know what I mean, sound great. You know what I mean? And I do. I think it's a great sounding car. No, but the 4.7, I'm sorry, I think it's one of the most perfect sounding cars, period. 4.7 Sport. I put it like this, I even think the 4.7 Sport sounds better than the MC. And I know the MC guys might get on me, but I mean, it might be louder, but the Sport, the tone in the Sport is that ride in third or fourth gear, there's no tone. Like, that is the Italian sound that everybody is looking for when you look for an Italian car, and that hum. You know what I mean? When you when you're on the gas and you're on the highway, you're on a certain speed, that hum that you're looking for, that's what the Gran Turismo comes with out the box. You don't have to edit it. You don't have to do anything to the exhaust. Nothing. You know what I mean? Straight out the box, that's how it's gonna sound. Okay. Now, in terms of, do I think the Maserati as a whole and Ferrari as a whole, do I think Maserati as a whole is on the level of Ferrari and Lamborghini? Yes, I do. Do I think that Maserati just doesn't hold a value like a Lamborghini and a Ferrari does? Yes, that's what I believe the issue is, and why, you know, some people might have a little hate, a little disdain, a little something to say about Maseratis because they don't have to hold a value like a Lamborghini and a Ferrari do, in terms of them not dipping below six figures. Okay, and even some Lamborghinis like the Gallardos, they dip below six figures. You know, some Ferraris dip below six figures, so you will find some, but overall, like, you see how Maserati, all of them for the most part, depreciate. And I think that's why people, you know, some people might have something to say, but regardless of that, the depreciation factor, in which those people who always have something to say about the depreciation factor, they never have a Maserati. And you know why? Because 9 times out of 10, they can't afford that insurance quote. Because you and me both know, Gran Turismo owners, we all know, you know what I mean, we're paying supercar insurance. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a supercar. It's gonna be a supercar. You know what I mean? Really, you know, it's I really do believe that the Gran Turismo, the Maserati Gran Turismo, even the Quattroporte, you know, I would like to pick up a Quattroporte one day. I do think that's a car, that another car that's going to be a classic. You gotta understand that car is a Ferrari V8 in it. Okay, it sounds like this virtually. You know what I mean? I don't think the Quattroporte is as loud as the Gran Turismo, but I don't think it's, put it like this, if the Gran Turismo was a 10, the Quattroporte is like an 8.5, 8.9. You know what I mean? So it's not that far underneath. If it's, not the same. But I do think the Quattroporte would be a classic. You know, especially, I think the 04s, 05, I think 05s, 6 or 7s, the early ones will be, even though they have messed up transmissions, they say, it's still a pretty car when you see it. And the ones a little bit after that, the second generation one is definitely going to be a classic. I would like to pick up a Quattroporte one day. I think it's a dope car. And for everybody else who's saying, about Maserati, the interior and and I have to get this out the way. The interior and the infotainment system, like, everybody knows, okay? Even in the Lamborghini Aventador, everybody complains about the infotainment systems, okay? Ferrari, they just got better infotainment systems and better interior. So if you're gonna buy an Italian car, okay, you can't look at it like, and I've heard people say this about the Maserati, the interior and the infotainment system, all of them are for the most part like that. The Aventador, everybody that owns an Aventador that I've heard complains about the infotainment system and that it's super outdated, right? It's like from a 2010 Audi, okay? The Ferrari, I'm sure, is sharing parts with Fiat. I'm just sure they are, so, or Alfa or whoever, you know what I mean? So they even sharing colors with Alfa. Like, have y'all not noticed that Alfa Romeo red and Ferrari red is like the same color, same brakes, same like everything looking pretty much. It's just a 4-door version of it. So I can't understand how people, complain about the Maserati infotainment system. Like, you get in this car, you're not listening to music like that. Okay, you're not paying attention to mostly the map system and none of that. Unless you're going on a trip, never happening. Okay, so anybody, and it's just like in a Lamborghini. You know what I mean? Everybody that complains about the infotainment system in a Lamborghini, they're not really using the infotainment system. You know what I'm saying? So all of those people who complain about the infotainment system that don't have the car, stop doing that. Please stop complaining. You don't even own it. So what are you complaining about the infotainment system for? And you can change the infotainment system. There's like 3 different versions of an infotainment system that I've seen for this car. Okay, so if you really can't get over having, an older infotainment system, like you really need all of the new technology, then please, okay, just change it. If you're buying one of these anyway, most likely you can afford to. If you can't afford it, you could finagle a way to get one. You know what I mean? You could finagle a way to, get somebody to get one. So, you know what I mean? Let's cut out the infotainment, the terrible talk about the infotainment systems in the Maserati, because all Italian cars, the infotainment systems are horrible. But I don't understand why Maserati gets singled. Okay, and I don't. So I gotta kill that one. Let's see what else. What else is there? I don't know, but trying to think of some other topics about Maserati, Lamborghini, and Ferrari. If you guys think of anything else, let me know in the comments. I always do a second video on this. I have no problem talking about this subject. But yeah, guys, stop. Ferrari, Maserati, and Lamborghini. It's definitely, they're all, one. They're all not one, but they're all on the same level to me. Because when you see one in public, they all really give you that effect where it's like, wow, like, I want me an Italian exotic. Now, do they all cost the same money? No. But most people don't know what these cars cost. They know they cost a lot. They know they cost 6 figures, but they don't know exact prices unless you're into cars like that. You know what I mean? So on the street, like, you will get looked at in a Maserati, like, and I don't know. See, the color of my car is not loud. It's not bright. So, I don't have yellow, green. I don't know what it's like to roll around with that kind of loud color on a car. The color on this car is granito, green, something like that. It's gray that flips to black. Okay, so this is probably one of the least loud colors you will ever find. Period. You know what I mean? And it still gets attention. This color, people always ask about the color. You know what I mean? They ask me what color it is because it flips. Sometimes it looks brown, sometimes it looks green, sometimes it looks blue. You know what I mean? So, you know, they always ask about the color. You always get people telling you to rev the car. You always get people telling you, you know, I would imagine the same thing in a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. You know, now, will I say that, you know, like Lamborghinis to me, and I've heard this from owners and I've also seen it, but Lamborghinis really do draw crowds. Like if you get around, and that's the one thing a Maserati probably won't do. Like you're probably not going to get a crowd of people, you know, coming around you. Like how some people do in Lamborghinis. Now, I haven't drove it into a car show, so I can't say all of that yet, but I will say on the street, like, you know, the Lamborghini is probably like, put it like this, right? If I had to gauge them between the two, Lamborghini and Maserati, if a Lambo was a 10, a Maserati, again, is probably like an 8.5. You know what I mean? In terms of attention getting. Like, you're still getting tons of attention, but you're just not getting that, you know, that extra. And you might not want that. You might not want people surrounding the car, like, you know, always, you know, you might not want that, you know. But also, again, I don't know if this Gran Turismo was, say, yellow, say it was red, green, blue, or a brighter color, you know, it might bring that kind of attention, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Also, in the Lamborghini, I've noticed that if it's not in a bright color, you might not notice it even going by, you know what I mean? So, I do think color plays a part, you know what I mean? I do. But in terms of them all being on the same level, I would say on the street, yeah, I would have to say that. In terms of money, what they cost, no. In terms of, you know, speed and 0 to 60 time, they're all different, you know. But in terms of attention, in terms of perception of how people are going to feel about you when they see you pull up in a Maserati, you know, the Gran Turismo, like they're probably gonna feel the same way, especially if you're on the younger side, like you don't have gray hair in your head. They're gonna probably give you the same kind of, you know, respect that, you know, maybe not Aventador respect, but like definitely probably Gallardo respect, you know, maybe Huracanish respect, depending on who they are, you know what I mean? You know, stuff like that. For a 5.8 respect, you know, you might get some of that. You know, if you're on the younger side and you get this car, you know, definitely you will get a nods, respect, and all of that stuff that you really want. You'll get people taking you serious, all of that. You know, they all parallel each other. Ferrari, Lamborghini, they parallel each other in terms of that. You know, so, you know, I do think, yeah. Now I will say, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati, I do think you get the most room in a Maserati. So, you know, if you have long legs like me, you're tall like me, I'm 6'3", 6'4", you know what I mean? So, some of those other cars are tight. You know, some of these cars are tight. These Italian cars for taller people are tight. One thing about the Maserati, it does give you a lot of room. Well, not a lot of room, but more room than some of the other cars. You know, so there's that. You know, but that's gonna be the end of this video, guys. If you guys want me to make another one of these videos, and I might, you know, as I think of stuff, you know, I might make another one of these videos, Maserati, Lamborghini, and Ferrari, you know. But yeah, in terms of Maserati, one thing things I think the Maserati, let's recap. Things I think the Maserati have over the Lamborghini: exhaust sound, out the box. I do think the Maserati is the best. The Gran Turismo is the best sounding car I think you can get, Italian. Out the box, maybe except for the Aventador. Okay. And I gotta say that I do think it's the best sounding car stock. Okay, now once we go into aftermarket exhaust, that, you know, that always changes things, but stock, I do think the Gran Turismo, you know, I think it owns most of the Italian cars. I think he only really got one that really could give you some trouble, which is the Aventador. You know, I think, you know, one thing about Maserati that they have over Lamborghini and Ferrari is you won't see as many Maserati Gran Turismos as much as you see Lamborghinis. You know what I mean? And you're not going to see as many Gran Turismos as Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Like, you go to a car show, you'll see Lamborghinis and Ferraris, you might not see a Gran Turismo. You know what I mean? So they do have a little bit of a rarity factor, you know, in terms of not seeing them as much. You know, which is weird because there's more Gran Turismos built than a lot of these Lamborghinis and Ferraris, but, you know, you might not see, you know, Gran Turismos are, it's not a car you're gonna see every day. It's not a car, you know, it's a rare car. It's a rare car. Not rarer than them, but it's a rare car. You know, and it's also not as pumped and, you know, marketed as much as Lamborghini and Ferrari. You know what I mean? So the rarity is a little bit more mystique around a Maserati. You know, from some people who haven't, you know, they're more familiar with Lamborghini and Ferrari. I mean, yeah, so, you know. But, yeah, guys, I'm gonna wrap this video up. If you haven't already, hit that like, share, subscribe button. Join the VSOP Club. Got a ton of stuff coming. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace. So I also did want to include that, and I have seen this on the forums, but I think one of the subs did remind me of it. Somebody did comment that Maserati did do a study. Okay, there was a study done on Maserati exhaust. And I believe, I want to say they put a Lamborghini in the study. They also put a 458 Ferrari, which has the same engine as this car. And Maserati, I believe, was voted by women, okay, that the exhaust gave them, I believe, made them orgasm. Okay, or, yeah, I believe so. Now, I understand that the 458 has the same engine block. I don't believe it's the same engine. It also has a flat plane instead of a cross plane like this. But Maserati was voted best exhaust. So when you're making your decision about a Maserati, Lamborghini, or Ferrari, keep that in mind. All right, guys, I'm out.